Hello, so this is Steve Kurti, and I'm Debbie Kurti, and we're from Innovation Academy. And we're doing a series of videos just to kind of tell a little bit of a story because something big is coming down the pipeline, and we want to share that with all of you.
Yeah, we kind of ended the last video with a cliffhanger. And in this video, we want to answer the question, why do we do what we do?
Why do we do what we do? It's interesting because sometimes God has a funny sense of humor. And sometimes you think you're going in a direction and then you go in a different direction. He has better plans for you. We've got lots of stories of that. But the story I want to tell is the first time that we kind of had this aha moment that we might be doing something different than what we thought we were doing. I think that's the best way to put it. So we had been doing, we started off doing classes like, one at a time, like one day a week, where students would just come. And then the next year, Steve will probably get into this a little bit more. We started doing classes where kids would come all day.
That was interesting.
Yeah. So twice a week, we had kids come all day. And we had several families that had kids come all day, 2 days a week. So we saw some of these kids an awful lot. And I remember, and I want to say it was in the fall, it had to have been in the fall sometime. And one of the parents came to me and shared this story with me. And she said, we were going to go to Disneyland because it was somebody's birthday in the family. And we were going to go to Disneyland, but our oldest son was super upset because he didn't want to miss school. I was like, oh, where's he go to school? And anyhow, it turned out that they couldn't go to Disneyland. So the second son was super upset that he couldn't go to Disneyland. And so he wanted to know if he could come to school instead because they were going to miss that day. But since they were going to miss that day and it wasn't his day.
Yeah, we didn't see ourselves as a school.
And I heard the word school and I was like, who's school? We don't do school. Anyhow, that was definitely a little bit of a paradigm shift the first time we heard that.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's kind of when we started thinking of everyone as our families. I mean, we sort of did that before, but that's when we really identified, oh yeah, these are our people.
Yeah.
These people belong with us. We belong with them.
Well, and we saw a lot of these kids a couple of days a week. Saw the parents.
Yeah. There was a lot of relationship building happening.
Yeah, that's great.
So the question is, how do we get here? How did this happen? How do we get to this point? And why do we do all of this? So most of you may not know this, but in a former life, I was a researcher at the Navy.
Yeah.
I worked with weapons development, lasers, stuff I can't tell you about. And the next job was actually at a medical university. And there, some guys and I had started creating an idea that we thought might be able to be patented. And I went to a conference in San Francisco, and I was sitting at the breakfast table with our friend Andrew, Andrew and Renee's house, and they've been very supportive of us all the way through this. But it was interesting. I was talking to Andrew about these two ideas, and he said, that idea sounds like hobby, but this other one, that sounds like a business. I was like, interesting. And then I went to the conference.
Yeah.
And when I came back from the conference, he had written me a business plan. That was really, that was the first time I had ever considered the idea, I might be able to create a business. It was a dental business. It was
dental product.
Yeah, it was a dental
like
product.
Thing.
Yeah, a tool that would probably cost like $20,000 or something, like some big ticket item. And that's where the business started. Kurti started there.
Totally different than what it is. It's definitely matured over
the years. And so through the course of meeting a lot of people, and other people that we know, lots of discussions. Our friend Michael Swank has taught classes for us, and we've had discussions with him about what we do. Our friend Eric from Google, lots of conversations with him. And then Alex Hoopmacher, who was a student, and now he's kind of
he's an entrepreneur and network admin.
Yeah, he's another
cool guy.
Person around us that we've had lots of discussions with. Our friends, the Messengers, their family whose kids have been in our stuff almost since the beginning of time.
Since the beginning.
Actually, of what we've been doing. Because it turned out that the first business that did dental stuff, I was doing prototyping and I ended up with 3D printers. And then I asked myself, and then I ended up in a position where my business partners moved out of state, and that's made it hard for us to collaborate. And I started asking myself, well, what can I do with 3D printers? And as strange as it sounds, 3D printers led to education and tech education.
Are we going to tell that story today?
Nope, we're not going to tell that story.
Okay, because that's a really cool story.
There's a lot of.
We should tell that story
someday. There's so
many
stories here, and again, it's about the people and the things, but all of that led to where we have been recently with the Curious Kids classes, Innovation Challenge, and summer camps that we've been doing. And there's a guy locally, he probably doesn't even remember this, Eric Schmidt. He's a local business person. I was at a mixer event down the hill, and I was chatting about what I did, and he said, "Oh, so you develop innovators on purpose."
And is that where that came from?
Yes, that's exactly where it came from.
Okay, cool.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that piece.
So this has been our tagline at Innovation Academy for a while, is developing innovators on purpose. In fact, we had to add the real innovators recently because innovation has become a buzzword that doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
The same thing as maker spaces, which we abandoned also because we got tired of people saying things that didn't make any sense. Anyway, so we have decided to focus on this idea of developing innovators on purpose because we feel like uniqueness is important, like individuals are important.
The gifts and talents.
Yeah, the gifts and talents. I'm particularly interested in small business because I think that small business probably, drives the future. Because I guess I see this like, I'm the 50,000 foot view person. Like I'm always thinking 10 years down the road and crazy ideas. And somewhere in my head along the way, I've started getting this idea that we could, like as we look into the future, that our kids and grandkids would inherit a world where students emerge from school, whatever school means. I hate that word actually because there's so many, there's baggage. We'll just stop there. Anyway, they would emerge from school, whatever that looks like, knowing how to leverage their uniqueness and, and to be able to fit into their community, their environment, and to change the world. We think that's a big deal, that uniqueness turns into innovation and that turns into serving their community, whether it be a local community or like a worldwide community. So basically, we're interested in a simple idea that students should come out of school being contributors rather than consumers. That's a really big deal.
So it's really interesting. We're kind of leaving you with a little bit of hopefully a little bit of curiosity about what's coming down the pipeline. But, God's been weaving the threads of this story. That's the phrase that keeps coming to my mind. He's been weaving the threads of this story for a very long time. And some of these threads go back, a decade or more. And some are more recent, and some keep getting revealed even as we're going along. It's pretty cool. But I want to share one story with you, and we'll kind of wrap it on this, kind of making a connection. So I don't even know how many years ago. It must have been like 5 years ago or so. Steve was just driving around the valley here and kind of felt the pull to go in, and he was just sort of looking for locations. We were trying to find a permanent location for what we did. So he kind of felt this pull to go into this one area, I think was right. And what happened? Because you can explain it better, just quick, briefly.
I wasn't even thinking about this. I kind of had this impression to kind of think about this particular space. And as I was thinking about the space,
you were parked in front of it.
I felt like I got this huge download about like what a school could look like. So just a brand new, different way of thinking about learning.
Yeah. And then he came home and he said, I think we're supposed to start a school. And I said, oh, no, we're not. I teach college for a reason. K-12, no, we're not going to do that. And so anyhow, like I said, God has a sense of humor about these things.
Yeah.
And so I think it was a year or so later. So nothing ever happened with that location quite then.
It wasn't that long. I think it was at the end of the year.
Oh, it might have been.
It was only a couple months later, I think, that.
Anyhow, I get this phone call or this message from Brooke McMillan from one of the local homeschool charter schools around here. And somehow we got our name on their list, which I don't actually even remember filling out any forms for them, but we were on their list somehow. And if you know anything about the schools, there's a ton of paperwork you have to fill out. So I don't have any idea how we got on their list. But anyhow, we were on their list. I don't remember.
That's a lot of paperwork.
I think it was from, anyhow, I don't know. So she gave me a call and said, hey, you guys, we're looking for some STEM programming for the younger kids. And most of the stuff we did, like our camps and stuff, are all middle school, high school. And so she said, do you have anything for the younger kids? And I said, well, no, not really. But the year before at the camp in Murphy, North Carolina, we actually kind of piloted this thing for the mini makers, we call them, the little kids that were the siblings of the kids in camp. And we just did this really fun, you know, kind of round robin sort of thing where kids could go to different stations and make stuff, right? And it was super cool. It took like, an hour. Kids got to go to a couple of different stations. So I said, well, we did this thing last year. And she said, oh, that'd be great. And I ran it by Steve and he's like, I don't want to do that. And I said, but they're going to pay us. And he's like, okay. And so anyhow, so we ran this mini maker thing. Like in about 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, she got us a full class of kids. And it was a lot of fun. It was a ton of fun. So we thought, oh, we could do this. And so we did a couple more of those and a few events for the older kids, just kind of one-off things. And then she called and said, hey, you guys ever thought about doing like classes, like ones that go over a period of time, 6-8 weeks? We thought, no, we hadn't really ever thought about that. But okay, we'll give it a try. And the first year we did classes on Fridays and kids would just come for a single class. And we figured we booked out the whole day and we had class. I think we had like four to five classes. We had some for the younger kids, some for the middle kids, some for the older kids.
And we set it up for 6 weeks because we figured then we could be done and like do whatever the next thing was.
Yeah, we didn't even know. Parents were asking us, what are you going to teach the second session? We weren't even sure we were going to teach the second session.
Well, we'll have a list out in a week or
it's in
so.
Progress. Anyhow, so we did 4 6-week sessions, and every session we got more and more kids. Somewhere in that process, Brooke came back to us and said, well, we have this program called, what was it? I don't even remember what it was called now.
Yeah. Anyhow, but it was a full day thing.
It was a full day thing where kids would come 2 full days. I'm like, okay, that's a totally different thing.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. We have to have people for the playground. We have to figure out what to do during lunchtime.
That was a big level.
We have kids all day. So what do we do with them? Anyhow, it was a big deal, big level up. And we have to hire staff.
But we didn't say no.
But we didn't say no. We said yes. And that turned into one of the most amazing experiences that was so much work.
Yeah, it was 2 or 3 years of a lot of
100-hour weeks.
A lot of thinking, a lot of working.
Because we built all of our own curriculum.
Staff, yeah, we built all of our own curriculum every week. Something new. So there's just a lot of new things happening, and so it was fun. It was a lot of work,
but it was a step.
But there were so many cool things that happened in the process.
Yes. And it was this kind of the step, and we kind of kept coming back to like, well, Steve had this vision of a school, and then I told you the story at the beginning where we were called a school, and we're like, oh wait, I wonder if that's related.
Maybe this is a school.
Maybe this is a school.
And we're not officially a school, like we can't call ourselves officially a school because we don't like fit into the categories there, but it definitely moved in that direction.
And we it definitely was a thread to where we're going next.
Yeah. So we're going to leave you with another cliffhanger. Sorry.
Everything's been preparing us steps along the way.
But we will tell you what's going on in the next video. So don't.
We are?
Yes, we are.
Okay.